Welcome into the WJHL Plus Digital Center as we continue to get ready for the 2025-2026 school year, sitting down with superintendents and district leaders from all over the Tri-Cities and beyond. And today we are very pleased to be joined by the brand new superintendent of Johnson City Schools, Dr. Erin Slater, taking time out of her busy schedule for us as we get near the school year. Dr. Slater, first of all, thanks for taking time for us and a belated welcome to Johnson City.
Thank you so much.
Just described kind of the transition. You've been on staff here for about a month and much more familiar with the community a little before that. Describe where the transition's at.
Absolutely. So first of all, I'm thrilled to be a part of Johnson City Schools. It is quite a compliment that the board and the community had enough interest and confidence in me to lead Johnson City Schools on the next venture and chapter of achievement. So feel very proud to be here. The people that I have met over the course of the last month have been very welcoming, very appreciative of me being here, the experience that I bring, and I just hope to contribute as best I can to Johnson City Schools.
Elaborate a little bit on that. You know, topper pride is a real thing.
It is.
And the school system and the success of the school system is a real thing. Describe kind of what you've seen as you've been out in the public, met with students, family members, alumni, about just what this school means to the Johnson City community.
So the major word that comes to mind as I've did a meet and greet with the community, I've been out to all of the buildings, meeting with principals, supervisors, the board. There is a lot of pride here in Johnson City Schools, and there is a reason for that pride. When you take a look at the academic achievement of Johnson City Schools, we far surpass the districts in our area. We're nationally competitive. When I look at the programs that we offer, we have a variety of pathways for students to be successful, starting down in the elementary school, building those foundational skills so that they can learn to read, and then that transition of reading to learn and getting into content, and then making sure that, like I said, we have pathways for students to be successful after they graduate. So we have rigorous academic paths, we have straight to work experiences, apprenticeships, internships, and then we have a very robust CTE program that helps students decide where they would like to be later in life.
And your experience sticks out as you were a candidate first and now the superintendent of the schools. You've been a part of large successful districts like Johnson City Schools. Take us kind of through your pathway and what led you here to begin with, and kind of what you saw in Johnson City Schools that you thought this was the place for you and your family.
Sure. So a little bit of history. I started out as a teacher and did that for 4 years. I was in a suburb that was about 40 miles west of Chicago. Was a little bit bigger than Johnson City. We had 10 elementary schools. We had 4 middle schools, and our high school, one comprehensive high school, very similar to Science Hill, had about 3,200 students. So a little bit bigger system than Johnson City, but that's where I was for 23 years. So I started out as a teacher, became an assistant principal, and then I was a building principal for 11 years. And after that, the superintendent asked me to come down to central office, and I was the director of elementary education and then moved up to director for K-12 curriculum and instruction for the entire system. So after I completed my career there, I moved to another district a little bit closer to Chicago for a couple of years, and I was the assistant superintendent for curriculum and instruction. And then looking at what our family needs were and what we wanted to do, we located back to my home state, which was Iowa, and I became the superintendent for 9 years at Fort Madison Community School District. Very proud to have been in that district and some of the changes and things that we did to improve. And then again, 9 years later, looking at what are the needs of our family. And as I mentioned to you before we started, have some family here in Nashville and in the area in Tennessee, not in the area, but a little bit closer than I was before.
Absolutely.
So that really does help. And all of our moves have been based on family. And so Tennessee was definitely a draw for us. And Johnson City was the highest reviewed, most acclaimed district that I was really looking to get back to a district of similar size of where I basically grew up professionally.
Oh, fantastic. Well, we're happy you're here. And, you know, it's all about family in Northeast Tennessee. So certainly you'll feel at home in that aspect. As we count down to the end of July, into the beginning of August, to start of school, first order of business, where do you begin as you take on the task of leading the successful district?
Absolutely. My first order of business is visibility. As a newcomer to Johnson City, It's my responsibility to be the face of Johnson City Schools and be out there meeting people, making those connections with our city officials, with commissioners, with everybody that has some sort of impact and partnership with Johnson City Schools, because we have a lot of partnerships with business and industry as well. So that's been my first order of business, is making sure that I'm out in the community, being visible. As I mentioned, we did a meet and greet for the community. I've been to every building, talked with every principal, met with every supervisor. We actually have our first full combination meeting coming up here this afternoon that I hope I'm not late for. But again, it's about being present and being able to listen to what people have to say, because there are wonderful things going on in this district. And so we need to celebrate those, we need to preserve those, and then we need to take a look at what are some things that maybe with a tweak or two would yield us higher results, either academically or with our partnerships. And then what are some things that maybe we need to begin as we take a look at what's working for us and what we might need to tweak.
Dr. Slater, you step into the district and all of its successes, but education as a whole is always changing, and many things, both locally, statewide, nationally, are up for discussion. Stepping into the first year of the voucher program here in the state of Tennessee, your experience, if you have any from previous career moves and expectations as you manage this kind of new way of families looking at their education?
Sure. Well, first of all, I would say that the state of Iowa began a voucher system program a couple of years prior to Tennessee. So I've had some experience in navigating what does that look like? What are the expectations? What kind of accountability is there? What kind of accountability is not there? So I've had that experience for a couple of years before coming to Johnson City. And when I talked with the board and the interview process with the focus groups, this is something that is going to give us an opportunity to continue to celebrate, but maybe a little bit more out there and publicly about the choices that families have just within Johnson City Schools. So, for example, we have 8 elementary schools, we have our middle schools. As I mentioned, all of the programs at our high school. We've expanded Market Street School, which is an online opportunity for our families if they so feel that that's the best learning opportunity for their students. So I just want to make sure that the families know, whether they're new and they're vested or they're just coming in, that when you talk about educational choice, the choices that you have at Johnson City Schools are far beyond some choices that they get outside of Johnson City Schools.
Yeah, easy to sell when you have the numbers, the data, and the history that Johnson City Schools has on its side. Also, state funding is ever changing. National news with the Department of Education and what that looks like, and the, all of that. How do you navigate that and keep your eye on the prize, which is our young students here in the district?
So what you have to do is you do keep your eyes on the students. Those other things are variables and factors that you have to be informed about. You have to know what's coming. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. But it's easy to get distracted by all of those things, especially when you look at the press and the media and what's happening. It's very easy to get your eye off the prize, which is student achievement, student accountability, and opportunities for kids and families. So that has to be the focus. No matter what noise is going on in the peripheral, it's my job to manage that noise, but to make sure that the teachers, the principals, the families know that we're focusing on kids, and myself and my team will be looking out for those other pieces and filtering out what needs to be known, what is going to affect us, what is not going to affect us. So that's part of my responsibility, is to make sure that our staff can focus on our kids, and we will worry about some of those other pieces.
When it comes to all of the factors, Johnson City and Johnson City Schools is at the top of the list, certainly in the region, state, and many times nationally. This stuck out last spring when Science Hill and Johnson City Schools had higher numbers than the national average through the difficulties of 2021-22. So we have this and we're celebrating this. At the same time, the marquees say attendance matters. So even at the highest levels, like Johnson City Schools, we're always trying to increase that percentage of students in school. Every superintendent gets this question. How can the community help school systems, neighbors, increase our number of students that are walking back into the classroom after the difficulties of a few years ago?
Sure. So I will repeat what you said: attendance matters. Students are not going to learn if they're not in school. So that's a community concern, because when students graduate from high school, we want them to be contributing members of society. And they're going to be more apt to be contributing members of society if they have a high school diploma and or certifications and or college, military service, whatever it happens to be. So education is the key to a community's vitality. So if the community is interested in the economic base of the city, as well as having contributing citizens at the highest level, then it's within them to make sure that whatever sphere of influence they have, whether it's their own kids, friends' kids, relatives, neighbors, what have you, to kind of be that cheerleader for us out in the community about how important it is to be part of a school system and to have regular attendance. So I want the responsibility help of that. We do what we need to do here in the school district, and I'll talk about that in just a second. But if the people in the community can help be our advocates about why education is important and how education is the key to the vitality of this community, that would help us tremendously. In our school system, we have programs and pieces to make families feel welcome, to make sure that kids are feeling comfortable at school, all the things. But it does matter that kids have to be in school. And so we need to make sure, just at the ground level, which is our classrooms, that our students are feeling engaged. If students are engaged and feeling like they're contributing, that they're valued, that they have a voice, and that they're learning, they're going to be more apt to come to school.
And I think that's a great point. Certainly in Johnson City and throughout our school districts, every resource is in place for every family situation. And the families just need to know that they're taken care of. The opportunities are there. The families are taken care of as well in those situations. Final moments here, Dr. Slater. Give us one more rah-rah. How excited are you to get ready for this first school year and get the kids back where they belong in the classroom?
I am ready for kids to come back to school. I will share a little aside with you that when the first time that I looked at the Johnson City school calendar, August 4th is the first day of school. For anybody who didn't know that, August 4th is the
Yes.
first day of school. That is the earliest I've ever seen a school district start school. There were laws in Iowa about when you could start school, but here in Tennessee, we are starting August 4th. And I can't tell you how thrilled I am that we get kids back earlier than some of the way the other states operate, because it's time to get those kids back to school. We've been doing professional development with our principals. We've been doing professional development this morning. I was just with the instructional coaches. They are ready to get back to learn. And so we're hoping that our students are ready to get back to learn and that our parents are ready for them to get back to learn.
They may not act like it, but the students certainly are ready to get back in school, be around their friends, their comfort zone, and we look forward to a great school year. And we appreciate you, Dr. Slater, for taking time for us, and very best in your first year.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Erin Slater, Superintendent of Johnson City Schools, as we get ready for the new 25-26 school year. And as Dr. Slater mentioned, August 4th, first day for students in Johnson City.